Hello everyone and welcome back to another Marvel Crisis Protocol Battle Report for the channel. Today in an 18 threat match we have the Midnight Suns versus the A-Force. On the table you can see before you, and featuring for the first time on the channel the Immortal Hulk. My favourite sculpt AMG have done for quite some time. I think it's awesome looking. Anyway, we'll take a look at both sides and then get started. So there's only 4 miniatures in the Midnight Suns this time, although one of them is the new 7th threat on the table, as just stated, the Immortal Hulk, who is Midnight Suns affiliated and Defenders as well. Blade is here to give the affiliation bonus bump in the night as well, and the other two are also Midnight Suns. We have Wong and we have Ghost Rider, so 2 strong units and not a lot of bodies for objective capping and whatnot, but shouldn't matter too much. One of them is obviously a massive target. And for tactics cards we have Siege of Darkness, Gamma Drain, One Below All, Smash and Patch Up. And in the A-Force this week we have 5 miniatures, being led by the sensational She-Hulk, of course, being joined by Valkyrie, Miss Marvel and Okoye, and then kind of as a guest participant we have Rogue at the back there. And we come over here and see their tactics cards, hopefully in focus. Indomitable, Brace for Impact, got a lot of anti-Hulk tech for some reason, who knows why. Stalwart Determination, A-Force Assemble, and Mind If I Cut In. And here are the 2 crisis cards being played this week. The Secure is Gamma Waves, so it's the 3 Gamma Shelters. This one hasn't changed at all in the updated cards as far as I can tell. And we have the Montesi formula, it's the books, which have been turned into, appropriately, a Mystic attack as opposed to Energy. So this is one of my favourite matchups, Shelters and Books, because they both use the same deployment type. It guarantees a big scrap in the middle and is pretty frantic and also very smashy, which fits the theme for who's on the table. So they both use map E as per the new map denominations. 1 VP for each book held, you can only hold 1 at a time. 1 for your own Gamma Shelter, 2 for the middle, 3 for the opposing one. Actually, are we still doing 3 for the opposing one? Let's see, 1 for securing the close one. Oh, it's only 1 for the mid and 2 for the far one. That's actually changed. I didn't realise. I'm glad I read that. Yeah, so 1 VP for securing their close, 1 VP for mid, and 2 VPs for securing their far. So, okay, so it's not quite as worthwhile going after the middle's worth 1 less as a result. So it's still going to force the fight in the middle with pushing past to the opponents to get the 2 victory points as opposed to 3. Fair enough. You still have to be within 2 to not get damaged at the end of the round. Within 1 to be claiming. So beyond that it's the same. So they're both in a line down the middle like that. Can't quite see, but they're behind the tree there. The books are on top of the shelters, they're just slightly off center to show that they're both there. And with that we'll get deployed and be back to see where they are and who's going first. And just like that we're back with deployment done. The Midnight Suns are to your left and will be taking first activation unless they opt to pass, because they're 1 man down compared to the A-Force who are on your right. And because of the nature of the missions being played all in a line, that's pretty much how they have deployed. So the A-Force are just in a line over here. Slightly more complicated for the Midnight Suns just because those big bases on Ghost Rider and Immortal Hulk make it a little bit hard to actually fit in the space they had over here. So Blade is over here. His cape is awkwardly a little bit too tall, so he's slightly askew, but he is meant to be, flat there. There's no tactics cards to play before the game starts, so we'll either be back with Midnight Suns activation 1 or A-Force if they pass. So the game got started with Okoye moving up to, well, she's still well within 1 of the closest Gamma Shelter. She didn't want to be too far forward. She paid the 1 power she started with to pick up the Montesi formula book there though, and did nothing else. Oh, on the subject of spending power, getting power and whatnot, just because Immortal Hulk hasn't been on the table before, he is like normal Hulk. He gets 2 extra power in the power phase, so he's starting the game with 3. She-Hulk gets an extra 1. I don't think there's any other shenanigans we need to talk about until they happen, just because he does have a few obviously weird mechanics because he's immortal essentially. But we'll worry about that as and when he gets beaten. And of course the A-Force will be spreading out power as they get attacked. Ghost Rider will be generating power when his teammates are attacked, so there's a lot of stuff to keep track of this time. So for the Midnight Suns, Wong activated and basically did a snap activation as Okoye, just moving beyond the closest Gamma Shelter, paying the 1 power he started the game with and picking it up, essentially wasting his other action. Actually, you know what, he might as well meditate. Yes, he'll meditate so he has 1 extra power sitting on him again. So in the first round, the swinging factor score-wise is most likely to be the middle book, and on that note, the A-Force activated Rogue. She flew forwards kind of 1 2/3 movement, just within range 1 of the central shelter, paid her 1 power and picked up the book that was there. She's currently the only one holding it, although as per the rebalance of this crisis card, now the middle is only worth 1 as well, which I'm not sure, that seems like a bit of a random change to be honest. But either way, it's still going to force a fight over there if the Midnight Suns want to try and get that book back. She's pretty sturdy though, which is why she moved up to do it. Blade was up next for the Midnight Suns, moving forwards twice in order to contest the middle shelter, unable to do anything else because he used both actions for moving though, putting a little bit of pressure on Rogue. Was originally going to move Ghost Rider up, but it's probably better he moves later in the turn on the off chance people get attacked and he has the extra power to play with. And to put a bit more pressure on the centre, the A-Force activated Valkyrie. She moved over here medium, moved over here medium, and is now helping Rogue out there, so once again the A-Force have majority. Well, it was time for Immortal Hulk to activate. He only moves small, but he does have movement shenanigans he can do. So he moved small for his first action, then he spent all 3 power he started with on Gamma Leap, bounced himself over to where you can see him, and for his second action he just did his basic free attack. It's 7 dice, he did it on Valkyrie, and managed to do 4 damage through to her there, and didn't get a wild. If he'd gotten a wild it would have had a throw included, and unfortunately it didn't get the wild, so he spent 3 of the 4 he got from the damage he did to her on Leave Hulk alone, which is a size 4 within 2 throw medium, and in order to stay where she is and still be a nuisance, Indomitable is coming out of hand for the A-Force already, and the 2 power of the 4 she generated from being punched in the face is being spent when an allied character would be thrown or pushed by an enemy effect. Spend 2 and they're not pushed or thrown. Miss Marvel activated, moved into position next to Koi there on the home shelter, then used her range 4 Morpho Punch, just her basic attack. It's only 4 dice and it just gives her 1 guaranteed power. Did it on Immortal Hulk. The roll was all successes. It does have a push or a throw on wild if size 2 or less. Immortal Hulk size 4 I believe, so he ain't moving, not from that anyway. But he didn't do as great with his 4 defense dice and took 2 damage. Now he has 15 HP as opposed to the 20 that normal Hulk has, or She-Hulk, but he has the immortal mechanic, which we'll see as he gets beaten on later on. Well, last activation in the first round for the Midnight Suns was Ghost Rider, who did get power from Immortal Hulk being attacked. Not going to mention it every time, just mentioning it once so we know it is remembered. He moved up medium between the 2 gamma shelters there. He's within 2, so he's not going to take damage at the end of the turn, but he's not actually close enough to be contesting either of them. But he wanted to do an attack. He did Chains of Damnation, range 3, 6 dice or 5 dice energy with Hex on wilds into Valkyrie. Not going to matter about the Hex though, because he did 2 damage, which was enough to daze her. Oh, and with her getting attacked twice, once by him, once by Immortal Hulk, that's power being given out to the A-Force as well. I think it was Rogue and She-Hulk that got extra power, I believe. Speaking of which, it is over to She-Hulk to already end off the first round. One way or another, this is going to be a quick one. This is just an absolute brawl in the middle. So with the Valkyrie going down, She-Hulk had a choice: either contest the middle so that it's 2 each and no one scores it, or move in a little bit and then do a little bit of damage to only Immortal Hulk is really who she would be able to reach by like pulling up the tree there and chucking it at him. Didn't really want to give him some power because he's already going to get 3 in the power phase and he doesn't need 6 to play with, and Midnight Suns have first activation in round 2, so she opted to go for the safe play of moving in to where you can see her right there. That means it's 2 healthy characters because Valkyrie's down and Ghost Rider isn't in range, so nobody's scoring that middle shelter, but we'll cover all that in a second because it is time for scoring. So then about round 1, it is not a particularly high scoring affair. The Midnight Suns have scored 2 in total, 1 for holding the back shelter of Wong there, and 1 for holding the Montesi formula, which Wong is also holding, so he did all the scoring there. For the A-Force, they have the other 2 books, 1 on Okoye, 1 on Rogue. For 2 victory points, they hold their home shelter for 1, taking them to 3. So 3 plays 2, nobody scored the middle as just discussed. And in Battle Round 2, it is the Midnight Suns going first, unless... Oh, actually, yeah, they can still pass if they want to, and Valkyrie will be flipping her card over. So as we actually start round 2's power phase, Stalwart Determination is being played by the A-Force. It's a reactive. During the power phase, any number of allied A-Force characters can spend 1. Those that did are immune to being pushed and thrown for the entire round. She-Hulk and Valkyrie have spent 1 each to activate this, so this will just be kept somewhere nearby the middle. Just remember that they can't be thrown or anything like that. It's almost as if they fear Immortal Hulk doing things. So Battle Round 2 proper did get started with Immortal Hulk, and he had a really long turn with a lot of plays and counter plays. So we're going to go through it step by step. He mostly stayed where he was for his turn. He opened up with his basic 0 cost 7 dice physical into Valkyrie, and hit her for 4 with that. This time he got the wild, which was the built-in throw. He threw her at Miss Marvel to try and finish her off and do some damage, but they both paid 1 for a brace for impact. This was in an effort to try and let Valkyrie get a turn before dying and just being dumpstered. So they both did that, so that did nothing. So then, having built up a bunch of power, he spent 5 on his Gamma Burst, his big attack. It is 10 dice and has a built-in throw before damage is dealt, and the attack does not let the target generate power. He did that on Rogue, and did 5 damage, reduced down to 4 because of her Kree physiology. There is 5 damage there though, because it has a built-in throw before damage is dealt. He chucked her at Valkyrie, so Rogue takes 1 flat damage from that. Valkyrie took 2, messing up the dodge roll slightly, and as a result didn't even get to do anything. Very Malekith feeling so far, which I guess makes sense because he's the same threat value, but dumbstring a character like that, it doesn't feel great necessarily. Oh, before anything else though, sorry, when he did first activate, he used Gamma Drain, which is just a tactics card he can just use. During the Immortal Hulk's activation, it can use this card. Target an enemy character within 2, select reactive or active superpower, place the token on there. Anytime they use that superpower, he gains power equal to the power they spent on it. So he gave that to She-Hulk, and oh, actually, you know what? I just remembered Stalwart Determination means Valkyrie couldn't have been thrown. Rogue could have though, because she's not A-Force, which means she still would have died. Oh, and Miss Marvel didn't take any damage, although she wouldn't have needed to pay for Brace for Impact. So Brace for Impact, never mind. Noticed live, Brace for Impact did not get played, they can play it later on, but that just means that Miss Marvel has 1 power back, because Rogue could still be thrown into Valkyrie, and that's what killed her, so there's still no saving her in that regard. But as I was saying, he put Gamma Drain on She-Hulk and put it on her Clear the Court superpower, the 3 power one where she can pick up size 4 or less, 4 or less, and throw them, because she could use that to throw Hulk away. So thank goodness we spotted that live. But yeah, Brace for Impact not spent, as it turns out. The answer was right there the whole time, but Valkyrie still very dead. All that explaining and still managed to forget something. After Immortal Hulk had done his big spender on Rogue, he actually spent 3 on Gamma Leap, which is why you can see him where he is. So he's kind of there deliberately to block Miss Marvel and Okoye just being able to easily walk into the central shelter. They'd have to walk around, which would mean spending 2 actions. So he's just doing a little bit of blocking there. Still would have happened even if Valkyrie couldn't get moved, because she would get removed. So that's why he's where he was and not just over here. He had a very busy turn, like I said. Rogue activated first for the A-Force, and she also had a pretty busy turn. She started with using her superpower Mutant Absorption on Immortal Hulk, so you roll 5 dice, for every hit, crit and wild you drain power from them, or if they don't have enough power for how many you roll successfully, you make them lose health instead. And she drained the 2 power left on Immortal Hulk and 1 of his health as a result. And then from where she was standing, that was just a superpower, so she still had 2 actions. She used the Montesi formula that she was holding to do the Mystic 6 dice beam. It caught Immortal Hulk and Ghost Rider. Immortal Hulk has 5 Mystic defense, so he ended up only taking 1 damage from that. Ghost Rider though, she went wild on him. It was a spike and a half. He took 5 damage from it, and then for her other action, she retreated back here to make it a bit harder for them to try and get the book off of her. But she did really well against Ghost Rider, if nothing else. So Ghost Rider activated. He is ever so slightly moved from where he was because he used Bump in the Night. Might as well just cover that now. Had a pretty incredible turn as well, as you can probably tell by all the damage sitting on She-Hulk. So first of all, Siege of Darkness was played, and it's worth knowing, so you have to spend 2 to play this card. Midnight Sun characters do that. Those that do a free 0 cost attack card. So he did a Chains of Damnation, and Blade did a Mystic Katana attack for paying the 2. If Rogue hadn't stolen the last 2 power on Immortal Hulk, he would have joined in with that, doing the 7 dice with a built-in throw on wilds. So there would have been an extra 7 die attack in all this damage. I don't think it would have been enough to dumpster her in 1 turn, but it would have been so close that I don't think that should really be possible, personally. But anyway, so the free attacks. Ghost Riders did 4 damage to her, put Hex on her as well. Blade does a guaranteed bleed and managed to get 3 damage through her Mystic Defense as well. So then for Ghost Rider's actual turn, he did another Chains of Damnation, 3 damage, and then he did a penance stare, which was 10 dice. It's 5 dice base plus up to 5 for how much power she has on her, and she's maxed out. So that was 10 dice, and that did another 3 damage to her and drained 3 power from her, because you don't gain from penance stare, you have it drained. So that's 6, 12, 13 of her 20 damage. And as I say, Immortal Hulk, actually, you know, let's just for the sake of wondering, 7 dice is his free attack. I'm just curious. 7 dice was his free attack. That actually was not that great of a roll. 1 crit, so it would have been 4 damage, and she's got what, 4 physical defense? I believe so. No, 3. 3 physical defense. Oh, she actually would have taken it. So there would have been 4 more damage, which is not enough to take her out, but it was so close though. And a couple of annoying status effects along with Gamma Drain. Well, She-Hulk activated and stayed where she was. She also did not shake her bleed, so she's taking 1 damage at the end of her activation. That's why that's there. She spent on her big spender, the defense rests, 9 dice physical into Ghost Rider. Did 4, only needed to do 3, so the Ghost of Vengeance is dazed for now. Then she just did her basic 7 dice physical into Blade. Didn't do well with it, and did 1 damage. It does a built-in slow. Oh, her defense rest would have done slow and stun, but he's dazed, so it doesn't matter. So Blade is slowed, took 1 damage. Not an ideal turn for her. She didn't pick up and throw anyone because she doesn't want to give Immortal Hulk power. She would have had enough to throw one of them, yeah. It's looking like a losing battle already, which is not a good thing for the A-Force. Wong activated all the way back here for the Midnight Suns. Next, he meditated to gain 1 power, which he then immediately spent on the Vishanti's Blessing. Pick himself or an allied target within 3, and Immortal Hulk was within 3 to heal for 2. So Hulk is back to just 2 damage on him now, I believe. So Ms. Marvel activated of the 2 activations left for the A-Force. She's ending up back where you can see her small model, but she spent 3 on Embiggen, and her large model is placed within one of her, so she transforms into it. You can see it there next to Immortal Hulk. She's got range 3 on her Embiggened Punch though, which is 5 dice. She did 2 of them into Blade, and then she shrinks back down at the end of her activation, so she'll be back down to just where the small model is. Hit Blade, first one did 2 damage, then the next one did 1. Not super great. He's up to 4 damage of his 6, I believe, on his healthy side though, with him yet to activate. And then big Miss Marvel disappears, and she's back roughly right where you see her. So Blade activated, last activation of only the 2nd round for the Midnight Suns, and he started by paying 1 for his vampire human physiology, whatever it's called. He gets to shake a status. He did that just to get rid of his slow in case it's relevant for later. And then he did his basic free Mystic Katana attack, bleed and pierce on wilds. Did 2 damage to She-Hulk with that, which gave him enough power to do Night of the Damn Fear. Bigger 7 dice Mystic attack with full rerolls because she was bleeding already. It spiked and did 5, and that is enough, more than enough by 1, that She-Hulk is out of there. She-Hulk is out of there in turn 2. That is not good. I mean, she did kind of get picked on with Siege of Darkness, but it wasn't even as bad as it could have been because Rogue stopped Immortal Hulk joining in. He'd hit her as well. She would have been dead after his first attack, I think, because didn't it do, or would have done 4 damage, so not quite actually, because that would have been 6. That would have been 16, 17, 19, 20. No, that would have been spot on. Yeah, he wouldn't have needed to do Night of the Damn Fear. It would have been exactly 20 after the Katana attack. That is incredible. The threat, the danger level, I guess, let's not use a word they use for something else. The danger level of the Midnight Suns is so much higher when they basically have a pet Malekith. Although even then, I mean, he did do a lot of work on her before that. He didn't even join in with Siege of Darkness, but oof, you would expect She-Hulk to be sturdier than that. She just didn't have the roles where it counted, I guess. So we're very much into who cares, just go down swinging mindset for the A-Force. Okoye was the last one to activate for them and for the turn. She moved into the central Gamma Shelter, had enough power thanks to the A-Force affiliation bonus over getting other people getting attacked that she could do her Vibranium Spear Thrust, and Blade fully blocked it. So no damage there. Oh, forgot to mention regarding Blade, because he was next to She-Hulk. Oh, actually no, because she was removed though, so he wasn't. She doesn't get removed until the end phase technically, right? So the bleed would heal him 1. I think. I don't quite remember if that's how it works. It works that way for Days, but I don't remember if it works that way for KO. Either way, you know what? It's not going to make a blind bit of difference with the way this is going, is it? So, either way, Vibranium Spear Thrust did not manage to do any damage, and it needs to do damage to, do the free strike, so she can't even do that. Nothing is going right for them, at all. Well, at the end of battle round 2, I know I just said nothing is going the A-Force way, but they ended the first round ahead, points-wise, and that's actually still true, because the holders of 2 of the Montesi Formula books, Okoye and Rogue, held on to them, just barely in Rogue's case, but still managed to hold on to it. So they got 2 for that, and 1 for holding the back shelter, so they gained another 3, taking them up to 6, and the Midnight Suns, they still hold the other book on Wong for 1, they hold the back objective for 1, and they hold the centre, which now is also just worth 1 because Blade and Hulk versus Okoye. So they gained a total of 3 there, taking them up to 5. So as we go into battle round 3, Midnight Suns are still going first. They're still behind by 1. The A-Force doesn't have a leader anymore. There's 3 of them. Rogue's got 1 health left on her healthy side, and Miss Marvel and Okoye ain't exactly threatening. This is going to be a massacre. So the Immortal Hulk got round 3 started for the Midnight Suns. He paid 1 for bumping the night, first of all, to shift himself between Okoye, Miss Marvel and the tree that was there. Then he spent the rest of his 2 power, of the 3 he generated in the power phase, to do Smash. These are bigger than average trees, so we do count them as size 3, and he's size 4 though, so he can use Smash to destroy it and add 3 dice to his attacks this turn. He then proceeded to do 2 of his basic punches, putting them to 10 dice each. He did the first one on Okoye, and actually, hilariously, she blocked all of the damage. The attack roll was not great, to be clear, but she actually blocked all the damage and took nothing. Not even a throw on the wild. Miss Marvel, on the other hand, though, she took 3 damage, and the wild did happen, so she got chucked into Rogue, and to make sure that Rogue didn't get down from that, now is the time that they are playing Brace for Impact, so they both, very blurry, they both paid 1 for Brace for Impact, so they didn't take damage from that, but she still took the 3 from the initial giant punch to her face, so Hulk then immediately spent that on Gamma Leap, and that is why he was roughly over there. He just Gamma Leaped a little bit, so that he is threatening the back shelter. Okoye standing up to 10 dice is pretty incredible, but they needed stuff like that to happen in the first couple turns. Well, Okoye is still determined to go down fighting as a result of surviving, not being dazed by Hulk. So she started by using the Montesi formula that she has with the book she is still holding. It hit both Blade and Ghost Rider, got them both for 2 damage each, so Blade I think is 1 away from dazing. She then tried to finish him off by just doing her basic strike, and was unable to get through his defences with that one, but she did okay there. Well, Wong's just chilling and watching The Sopranos, or whatever it was, and he did the same thing again. He meditated, and then he spent it on Vishanti's Blessing to heal Blade for 2, so now he's 3 away from dazing, and it's over to Miss Marvel or Rogue. Miss Marvel activated, moved up, embiggened, although she shrinks down at the end of her turn, which makes having a big version of her model mostly pointless. A token would have done. But she did her big punch as her other action while she was embiggened into Blade in an effort to try and take him out. And also just her moving there means there's 2 healthy characters versus 1 healthy character, so the A-Force technically hold it currently. But Blade spent for 2 on supernatural senses, so he got full rerolls on his defense, including skulls, and took no damage. Well, Blade activated and did a katana attack into Miss Marvel, only managed to do 1 damage to her. Does the guaranteed bleed though, so that's kind of a good thing, because he wanted someone to heal off of at the end of his activation. He then went a little bit OTT and did Night of the Damn Fear on Okoye, although as it turns out I guess it's not OTT, because he did exactly enough to daze her, because she was at full health. So Okoye is dazed, she dropped the book, he didn't have any power left to pick it up, so it's been placed back there for Ghost Rider to grab it, unless Rogue goes very deep into enemy lines to get it. On her one. No, wait, no, she can't. She's holding 1. Either way, when he ended his activation, though, he's healed 1 and gained 1 power for being within 2 of a target that's bleeding. No, you can't use that to pick up the book because he's already ended his activation by that point. Well, Rogue's the last activation for what's left of the A-Force in round 3, which does mean they're going to have priority next round, so that's something. She stayed where she was. She spent the 2 powers she had on mutant absorption because Hulk has no power, so she wanted to do some free damage on him. Only managed to do 1. Which is fine, he doesn't generate power on it. She then just did 2 basic strikes. She didn't want to use the book because Hulk has 5 mystic defense. So the first strike did 3 damage. Unfortunately the second one did nothing, and that's the one she wanted to do damage because she could have sapped that power back from him that he got for the 3 damage from the first one. All in all though, I think that's him up to 6 damage of his 15. At the rate this is going though, I don't think we're going to see his immortal mechanics in this match, but anyway, over to Ghost Rider to end off the round. So Ghost Rider, to end off the 3rd battle round, he started by doing the most blatant, unnecessary penance stare ever on Miss Marvel. 10 dice mistake, did 3 damage, only needed to do 1. She is very dazed. He then paid 1 to pick up the book that Okoye had dropped. He spent 3 on Hell on Wheels, which is a long movement, not an action, to put him over here. And then he did a Chains of Damnation on Rogue. Did 5 down to 4. He needed to do 1 to her. Again, overkill much. And dazed her. Can't carry her book. Didn't have any power to pick it up anyway, I think. So it has been dropped right there. All surviving members of the A-Force are dazed. And we're into scoring for that round. So the writing is very much on the wall at the end of Battle Round 3, but I guess we'll just see what can happen into a Round 4. There is no way the A-Force come back from this at all, but maybe Rogue can get in a good smack somewhere or something. I guess we'll see. But with the entirety of the remaining survivors of the A-Force dazed, they scored nothing that round. The Midnight Suns are holding a book on Wong and on Ghost Rider now. The other one though is on the table, so there was only 2 gained from that. But they hold all the shelters. Wong holds that one for 1, Blade holds this one for 1, and Hulk is the only healthy character here, holds the back one for 2. That's the way the scoring works now, as it turns out. So in total they went up to 11, and the A-Force stayed at 6. So not looking good, but hey, let's jump into Battle Round 4 with A-Force going first. So Rogue got the final turn most likely. It started for A-Force. Started with an absorbing strike into Ghost Rider, got him for 3 damage. So then she went all out against him. I guess she's been absorbing too much of the Hulk's energy because she's getting mad. She did a Southern Hospitality. It would have had a throw on it. Is that before? No, it's after, so it's too late. Southern Hospitality, 7 dice physical, did 4 damage. Ghost Rider is out of there. So they did not get out with everyone unscathed. He dropped a book. She paid 1 to pick that up. Then she had 2 power left over. She used that on Mutant Absorption on Hulk and managed to drain 3 power from him. So what he gained in the power phase is just gone. Well, of course, Immortal Hulk was up first for the Midnight Suns again. He is slightly displaced now. That's because at the end of his activation, he spent a total of 2, 1 for Bump in the Night and 1 to pick up the book that Rogue originally dropped. His actual actions, though, he stayed where he was because Miss Marvel and Okoye were both within a tasty range 2 of him, so he just did 2 basic strikes on them. Okoye took 5 damage. She is out of there. She is done. Miss Marvel, though, she survived. She took 3 damage. I think she has 5 health on her days side, 5 or 6. Probably 5. So she's got 2 left, and she will actually be getting an activation now with whatever she can do with it. Maybe go after Wong, I don't know. So Miss Marvel embiggened to start her turn, placed there, and then when she's done she would be placed within 1, so she's ended up over there. She did the morphed punch, 5 dice physical into Wong, got him for 3. Seemed like an easy daze, so she decided to do another one because it's not going to matter much, but he would drop a book if he went down and she would have been able to pick it up. But there's the roll for the second morpho punch, right there. Now that's with the reroll on the shield from her Inhuman, for the record. It was a blank before. So that about sums up the A-Force's game. Blade and Wong get to do stuff now. I guess we'll just quickly see if they take out Miss Marvel, because why not? I don't think the Midnight Suns will actually get enough victory points to win after they activate, even if they take her out, because it's not going to change the point gain really. But we'll probably still call it there because Rogue ain't carrying this by herself. Yeah, so for Wong's first action, he used the Montesi formula on Miss Marvel, who technically hit Blade for 1 damage as well. Well, actually, you could probably place that so it doesn't catch Blade. Either way, it did 1 damage to her. He then did his basic strike against her 4 dice physical. It also did 1 damage, and that is enough that she is out of there, leaving just Rogue on the table, and Blade just wants to claim this really, so he's not doing anything. So at the end of Battle Round 4, the game is actually over legitimately, not just stopping because Rogue's the only one left for the A-Force. The Midnight Suns, in fact, did have enough, as we'll cover in a second. So Rogue ended the turn with a book, so they did gain 1 victory point, taking them up to 7. The Midnight Suns, however, though, they have the other 2 books on Hulk and Wong for 2, and they still hold all 3 shelters because she's on her day side and Hulk isn't. So that's a total of 1, 2, and then 2 for that one, so 4. Meaning that they gained a total of 6, taking them to 17. So they got beyond the 16 required to win, and that is a Midnight Suns pretty smooth victory. So despite the A-Force setting themselves up with some pretty decent, I thought, on paper, anti-Hulk tech, you know, having Rogue there to absorb power from him, sap power on her basic attack and mutant absorption superpower, having stalwart defense or whatever it was called, having brace for impact. I thought they were set up in such a way that Immortal Hulk would end up looking soft because She-Hulk would do equivalent damage, so their basic attacks are essentially the same. So with the backup of those cards and Rogue stealing his power, I thought they were going to make him look worse than he was. As it turns out, it doesn't really matter because he just destroyed everyone. He didn't really destroy She-Hulk though. That was mostly down to the Siege of Darkness into Penance Stare play. Feed her a lot of power, so then you get a 10 dice Mystic attack against her. That you didn't need a Immortal Hulk for that. Although having a beat stick there and him putting Gamma Drain on her throw to deter her from using it, because it would give him 3 power every time she did it per turn, was definitely a good counter to her just chucking everyone away. Although even if she did chuck everyone away, it's not necessarily what would have made the difference. It just felt like the A-Force just got rolled there, totally stomped, which is not how the Midnight Suns usually do. The Midnight Suns are not usually that great, to be honest, and it's a massive difference having such a heavy hitter. Granted, Ghost Rider can also be a heavy hitter with that Penance Stare, but Immortal Hulk, we didn't even get to see his mechanics. Rogue got him down pretty low-ish at the end there. If he does, or if he would daze at the end of a turn, he gets given the immortality token. You then strip all power from him and effects, and for every power stripped this way, he heals that much, so you can get back up to 10, assuming he dies or gets dazed with 10. Then, at the end of every turn, so every activation within a turn or a round, he heals 1, and if he ever gets back to full health, the immortality token gets taken off and you have to kill him all over again for the full 15. We didn't really get to see that here just because he didn't get hit enough or hurt enough. The game plan was try and ignore him, strip his power. Didn't work out. So yeah, the A-Force got rolled. That was an easy victory for the Midnight Suns. Immortal Hulk is really good, but there was also just some... They definitely took advantage of the fact that the objectives are just in a line. If the objectives were spread out on both ends of a table, that list with only 4 miniatures would definitely suffer. They'd have to kind of commit their forces, or Hulk would have to be off on his own most likely. Still really powerful though, definitely had the same kind of vibes as when Malekith was first on the table, as we did with Immortal Hulk here. But either way, that is going to do it for this video. I sincerely hope you enjoyed it. It was probably a short one. Thank you very much for watching though. If you want to support what we do here, please just leave a like or a comment, that helps. Or if you want to go above and beyond, pressing the thanks button or becoming a channel member also is a massive help. That all gets reinvested in the channel and picking up new characters and whatnot. Enjoy the rest of your day though, and see you in the future for another one. Ta-ta for now.